The Bitcoin ETF will be subject to ongoing surveillance and compliance measures to ensure continued investor protection. This is a tweet that Gary Gensler from the SEC has just put out here. It's already got 2 million views. This is the real U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission account, over 500,000 followers, and it is so exciting now that the Bitcoin ETF is finally approved. Or is it? Actually, that's fake news. That's not real. Okay, and this actually gets to a larger point I want to make here. This is still going to be very important for you to understand. Okay, Gary Gensler announced shortly after the tweet I just showed you went out that the SEC Twitter account was compromised and an unauthorized tweet was posted, aka this tweet. He's saying the SEC has not approved the listing and trading of spot Bitcoin exchange traded products at this current time. And my friend Walker down here makes an excellent question. How are you supposed to protect investors when you cannot protect your own Twitter account? Walker, I think that's a great question, especially when we have such a volatile asset like Bitcoin in question here. See, this is not just some little gaffe of some tweet here. The whole purpose of the SEC is to protect investors. And this massive, unbelievably embarrassing error for the SEC and for Gary Gensler right now. This is one of the most anticipated events. We know it's going to happen. You know, I'm recording this on January 9th. We know it's going to happen very soon. And as we saw with this tweet here, okay, just here's some perspective on why this should be embarrassing and why this should really have you question the, let's say, resolve and integrity, not integrity, but the security of the SEC. Here we have Bitcoin price over the last day, and we see that when the initial tweet went out saying the ETF was approved from the verified SEC account, we see Bitcoin immediately began to spike. It immediately went up about $2,000 US. Moments later, when Gary Gensler corrected the tweet, the price crashed back down to now below where it's been trading at all day. Okay. As a side note, what do you think is going to happen when the ETF actually is approved? I wonder what's going to happen. Maybe price might go up violently. Something to think about there. A little peek of what's to come. But my point is, the whole purpose of this organization is to protect investors. And this is incredibly embarrassing that if they're supposed to manage hundreds of billions of dollars of Bitcoin to make sure that custodians are securely storing Bitcoin for people, and yet they can't even secure their Twitter account to have one of the single most important announcements be falsely announced mere hours or days before it is expected to be announced. This is unbelievable oversight. Very, very bad PR here. However, I'm not going to leave you hanging on to clickbait. We are actually going to follow through on that $15 million Bitcoin number here, okay? First, before we get to 15 million, we have to start a little more conservative. We have to start a little more bearish. Okay, here's an article from Business Insider yesterday talking about how Bitcoin could soar another 344% this year, given the reality that Bitcoin went up over 160% in the year 2023, despite the lack of FASB approval, ETF approval, plus 3-year sentiment lows for Bitcoin. I don't think a 344% increase at any point is that unreasonable. A year? Maybe that's a little much, but we'll see. Let's go on to see why the article is talking about this. A 344% move from current price levels takes us to $200,000 by the end of next year. Excuse me. So just about 2 years. Okay. And again, this all has to come back down to the ETF and the huge inflows, which I'll get back to in a second. Now, who on earth is saying this? Who is, Markets Insider underneath Business Insider. Who are they talking about? Well, this is someone I tweeted about yesterday. Okay, this is Standard Chartered. This is international bank here, and this is one of their reports from January 8th, just yesterday from the time of recording, about Bitcoin price potential upon approval of the U.S. spot ETF. The U.S. SEC is expected to approve spot ETFs for Bitcoin immediately. Yes, they did. Actually, no, wait, they don't. That was fake news because they can't secure a Twitter account with the 2FA authentication. If they can't manage 2FA authentication on their Twitter account, makes me really question their ability to manage Bitcoin private keys, but that's a question for later in the video. So point is that when the ETF is approved, this means that there could potentially be significant Bitcoin price upside based on historical experience of gold ETFs, as well as the market demand for Bitcoin here. Now, what they go on to talk about in these following paragraphs here is that they fully expect, as this article claims, Bitcoin could go to $100,000 or even $200,000 within the next 2 years or less. However, I have a problem with that analysis because in this analysis of theirs that they're making here, they have a really big problem. I don't think most people, including them, realize how big of a problem it is. Okay, they assume that between 437,000 and 1.32 million new Bitcoins will be held in spot US ETFs by end 2024. There are 1.8 million Bitcoin on exchanges. And you think that the spot ETFs together are going to buy 1.3 up to 1.3 million Bitcoin, only having 500,000 Bitcoin remaining? Okay, let's put this in perspective. Michael Saylor, via his company MicroStrategy, has acquired approximately 189,150 Bitcoin over the last 3.5 years. If this little page here is correct in saying that we think Bitcoin could go to $200,000 with 50 to $100 billion of inflows buying up 1.32 million Bitcoins, that means that there's only room for 2.5 more Michael Saylor / MicroStrategy level buys in the history of the world. Okay, there are 1,100 companies on the planet larger than MicroStrategy. Do you think two of them are going to want to copy Michael Saylor at some point in the future? I think so. And so something is horribly wrong with this article here. Either their price target of $200,000 per Bitcoin by the end of 2025 is way too bearish, or option two, they are vastly overestimating the amount of demand that is going to come from this Bitcoin ETF, or there's no way they're getting 1.3 million Bitcoin. It simply is not going to happen. Okay, again, they are saying they're going to acquire, or that all the ETFs together, they are expecting to acquire anywhere from 500,000 to 1.33 million Bitcoin, and it's only going to send price up to by end of $100,000 US by end of 2024, or $200,000 by the end of 2025. Okay, I respect their bullishness. I respect their bullish on Bitcoin. I get it, but think about this, people. If you think the statement is correct that the ETFs are going to be approved, and if you think the statement is correct that we're looking at 50 to $100 billion of inflows to Bitcoin, then the $200,000 price target is way, way, way too bearish, in my opinion. No, again, something has to give. Either they're not going to get the 1.3 million coins, or the price is way too bearish and there's not going to be, something's going to give. And so let's put a visual representation on this, because all these numbers tend to get a little jumbled in our brains. So let's put this on a nice bar chart here. I posted this last night. Okay, let's keep this in perspective. Michael Saylor is this little tiny small red column on the left. MicroStrategy is the darker orange column to the right of that. The proposed Bitcoin ETF demand of 1.32 million Bitcoin is this light orange marker here. And then this tallest column are the remaining Bitcoin on exchanges, roughly 1.8 or roughly 1.78 million Bitcoin, depending on the time you're watching this. Okay, look at this, people. If that large red bar was the housing market, and I told you that that light orange bar was new buyers for houses for the first time ever in the next 18 months, what would you say? Would you go out and buy a house, or would you time the market and sell the house? Would you wait for a recession? Would you wait for a credit event? Would you wait for your financial advisor to tell you to buy some? Would you wait? Come on, be serious. Supply and demand, folks. This is simple. This is simple reality. Okay, I don't know where Bitcoin price is going in the short term. I'm not going to make a short-term prediction. Okay, unlike those folks making a $200,000 Bitcoin short-term prediction. Okay, but think first principles. It took MicroStrategy 3.5 years to get that little column you see. The Bitcoin ETF, if that $50 billion to $100 billion demand is correct, we are looking at a number many, many times larger in 1/4 the period of time. Okay, imagine Michael Saylor buying 5 times as much Bitcoin as he did, with the same conviction as he did, 4 times faster. What do you think that would do for Bitcoin price? Don't overthink this, people. This is one of the only times in Bitcoin history, if not the only time in Bitcoin's history, where we know, at least up to this point, where we know there was a massive amount, there was a wall of money, there was a massive pile of demand just waiting for the ETF to be approved. Okay, financial advisors cannot yet recommend Bitcoin because there is not a regulated ETF. Because ETFs are safe and secure, there is not yet a way for them to encourage clients to take a 1%, 2%, or 5% allocation. Okay, and they would not be filing for these ETFs if the demand was not there. Okay, it's incredibly important to keep these things in mind. So, do I think that this rumor of a $100,000 to $200,000 Bitcoin is bullish? No, absolutely not. And here's why. The all-time high for Bitcoin in terms of the US dollar, or perhaps a better way to think of it, is that the all-time low of the US dollar in terms of Bitcoin was $69,000 per singular Bitcoin. Okay, this occurred in 2021. Okay, now here we are coming up on 3 years later. Okay, the dollar has debased so much that the new all-time high for Bitcoin in terms of dollars, or because the unit of account you're measuring from, aka dollars, has fallen in value so much that the new all-time high for Bitcoin is $82,000 in today's dollars. Okay, yes, and I know I'm going to get hate comments for this in the comments because people don't understand what I'm saying. Okay, please, before you write a hate comment, please, take 5 seconds, think through what I'm saying here. Okay, Bitcoin in 2021 was worth $69,000. Now, those $69,000 are worth less because we printed more currency units. And now it will take $82,000 to acquire the same Bitcoin if Bitcoin had the same real terms purchasing power. Okay, that makes $47,000, which is Bitcoin's current price, seem kind of cheap. We're nowhere near $82,000, at least yet. Okay, now, if we assume that the dollar continues to debase out to 2026, easily $100,000 per Bitcoin could be in reason for the same purchasing power it had almost 3 years ago. $100,000 per Bitcoin is not bullish. It is simply Bitcoin's 2021 value in terms of 2026 dollars. $100,000 per Bitcoin is not bullish. $200,000 per Bitcoin is not bullish. 500,000, probably not bullish either. So my point is that when you are measuring Bitcoin in terms of political currency system that every year is designed to force housing prices to go up forever, that is designed to force stock prices to go up forever, that is designed to force all hard assets to go up forever, it is not bullish to say that asset is going up in any amount of those political currency units. Okay, it simply doesn't make any sense. We have already been at $100,000 per Bitcoin, obviously in 2026 dollar terms, not in today's dollar terms, but 2026 now is only 2 years away. Okay, $100,000 per Bitcoin is not bullish. Okay, I cannot repeat this enough. This is not bullish. I'm going to retweet this actually just for Bitcoin is incredible and it's incredibly important, which is why it means a lot that you're watching this video and you're taking the time. I do this because I believe it is a really, really important innovation that we've discovered a way to not have a single point of failure at global base layer money. See, fiat money, political currency units, and gold, all other forms of money up to this point in history have had a single point of failure. This has been the largest monetary problem in human history for the last 4,000 years. And now we have Bitcoin, and Bitcoin solves that single point of failure problem. And now, therefore, we have a new single point of failure problem, and that is how do we custody and store that Bitcoin properly for the long term in a safe and secure way that brings peace of mind. That's why I work at the Bitcoin Advisor. If you were to be hit by a bus, does your spouse, do your kids, do your loved ones and beneficiaries know how to access your Bitcoin? Do you have a proper self-custody storage method to where there is no single point of failure? Not from yourself, not from your seed device, not from where your seed phrase is stored. Have you considered these questions? Have you gotten your UTXOs managed? Do you have jurisdictional arbitrage? Have you considered all the trust, taxes, and estate planning requirements that are associated with becoming a high net worth person? Because if you are buying Bitcoin right now, you are going to become a high net worth person. Are you prepared for the amount of Bitcoin you have to skyrocket in value 2x, 5x, 10x, or 100x eventually? That's the time horizon you should have. And so you need to be preparing today for that future. How are you going to custody your Bitcoin? How are you going to leave that Bitcoin for your future generations? Because after all, that's what we do this for, right? You're buying Bitcoin for your kids. You're buying it for your grandkids. And so I highly recommend you start thinking in those long-term time periods now, because companies are coming, charities are coming, high net worth individuals are coming, and all of them are going to realize that having an allocation to a multi-sig collateral custody vault is going to be something that is of serious consideration for them. So once you understand Bitcoin is a beautiful innovation for not having a single point of failure at the base layer currency, now you have to start seriously considering, how do I have my custody stored where there is no single point of failure? Okay, if you want to learn more about that, please click the link in the description. I have dozens of pages of free educational content for you and videos. I'm happy to help in that free way. And then if you want individual help, I'm also happy to help you join the Bitcoin Advisor, where you can be an ongoing client. You can become one of my clients, and I'd be happy to help you in the years to come to make sure your Bitcoin's protected, to where no matter what, no matter if thieves or scammers or spammers or yourself or your family or whoever no matter whether it's due to theft or loss, misallocation, misplacement, or just other mistakes, I'm happy to help you and be that voice of reason in the coming years ahead. So click the link in the description. I'd be happy to help. Check it out. Thanks.